Welcome back to Legacy Builders. Thanks for joining us again on our financial series. Today we've got a really fun episode. We're going to talk about teaching your kids about money. So going along with our name and what the whole purpose of our podcast is it is about legacy and what you're leaving for your children. And leaving them in good hands so that they can teach their children and leave them in good hands. But yeah. Dad, you have any comments before we get into it?
No, I think it'll be an exciting episode, at least for me, just because I don't know. I think it's one of the things that are lacking in a lot of families is just getting understanding about money and then being able to share it with your kids so that they can be better off than where we are growing up. And so I think it'll be good. I'm just going to share some of my thoughts, my opinions. Maybe it'll witness to you, maybe it won't. But I know, Matt, this is the point where you'll get to hear firsthand from Madison, some of the things that we've been teaching and the things that she's liked, not liked. And we'll go from there. I'm not one that am afraid to talk about the tough topics. I'm not afraid for my kids to tell me, you're not doing good in teaching this, or I didn't like that. It still may not be easy or comfortable for them to say that, but we do provide those opportunities in some of our family meetings for open discussion and stuff like that. So I want to try to get better. I'm not perfect, but I think what we're doing is good, and just want to encourage you to, if you haven't done this before, to start making it intentional, to start talking to your kids about money. And I do want to say, in the beginning, before we get into that, I know if you're a parent, it's hard. It's tough. You are sacrificing every day to put food on the table, to pay the bills, to keep your kids from living indoors. Life is not easy. I get that. And you're doing the best that you can. We're here to help you and to show you a path that you can make it a little bit better, and at least encourage you, even if it is a struggle, to encourage you to share that with your kids in a way that they're going to receive it. And maybe now is the time, maybe it's not so much of a struggle, or if you are struggling, you're going to get past it here very soon. And when you do get to that point, to just be like, all right, kids, it's to the point where I'm going to start learning and get a hold of this money thing. You want to walk this journey with me, and it's never too late to start getting understanding for your next generation. And I think you're doing a great job in providing for your kids, for your family. So I don't want any of this to sound like that it would be negative. And some of the things that we may talk about, because I know you're doing the best that you can. I'm just sharing that from personal experience. There's been periods, especially when they were younger, it was very tough, very tough. I was just trying to make ends meet. Just a little bit about my story on that end, just so you know a little bit of my struggle. I mean, we got to a point where we found out that my wife actually had a tumor in her brain. And she was the one that was paying the bills, handling money. It seemed like I would take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and the money just was not keeping up. We were not doing well at all. Our house was in foreclosure. Things were not looking good. Jody found out that she was having a brain tumor, and to the point where she got put on leave on her job, which reduced her income to about 60%. And ultimately to zero for a little while. And so when we found this out, I found out that she was not keeping up on the bills. I didn't know passwords. I didn't know a lot of stuff. So in taking care of 3 kids, 1 special needs kid, helping my wife through a brain tumor, and then trying to figure out how to make ends meet with our income on a salary, money that she was not bringing in. It was very, very tough. I could not say that I was an expert in money at that point in time. I'm just saying it was a struggle. So I know where some of you may be at. And through all of that, we got through all of that and got back on our feet. And I just continued to press on. and started again learning some more. I was in the process of learning about money, real estate, and so those things had to take a time out for a little while, but we got back on our feet. We got things rolling again, and so yeah, I'm not speaking as though I've not gone through any struggles and don't know what it's like. Yeah, we were not in a good position for a while. So applying some of those things, learning from that school of hard knocks, want to make sure that, okay, I want to make sure that as we grow, that I'm learning some things and producing in my life. And then I also want to teach my kids at an early age. So if something does come up in their life, hopefully they have some money set aside that we didn't, and that I can help set them up and do some things in their life that would be better, so they would not be in that same situation that I was in at that point. So that was a main driving force and driving factor for me to really focus on money, because if I had some money and I had knew more about the topic of money at that point in time, maybe things would have been different and we could have survived a little easier through that hardship or hard point in our life. And so again, it's not to say that you have it all together and you have it perfect. If you are struggling, maybe you're like me and you want to make sure that you do get through this and help educate your kids, or at least help guide them in a better direction so they don't go through the same hardship that you went through. Maybe that might be your story, and that might be your reason to start talking to your kids about money. So
Yeah, it's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, and so with that said, that again, now you know a little bit about my drive and my reason why I want to make sure my kids are set up financially. Because I don't want them to have to experience the same thing that I've. Not that I'm not trying to. I'm never trying to take away what life has to throw at them. I just want to make sure whatever life throws at them, that they're prepared for it and they're ready for it, and they have something to sustain them through that life. Because I can't protect them any more than I can protect you from what life is going to throw at them. All I can do is say, hey, we're going to be ready and we're going to be more prepared. So when life does take that blow, instead of knocking us down, knocking us out, it might just be a blow that we say, oh, is that all you got? And then we're just going to keep moving on. And so we're going to take hits along the way. I'm not trying to say we're immune from taking hits, but if we can get our finances in order, those hits are going to be less dramatic than they would if we're living only paycheck to paycheck and we don't have savings and stuff in our bank account. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of times parents don't talk to their kids about money, is because they are struggling. I think their kids know it. I think they can sense it. And I would I would say, just be honest with the struggle. And if you do, try to make, and I know it's not easy. It's especially if you're a guy, that financial stress is amplified, in my opinion, if you're the dad or the man in the house. There's just a different responsibility, and that's on our shoulders that we feel that may not be on the shoulders of your wife.
Well, and that's one thing I really appreciate about you guys, is you really opened up to us and just like talked about finances, showed us a budget, like how accurately you were sticking to that budget, like where all your finances were. And that was as we were older and as we were ready for it. But that's something I really appreciate, because I know that doesn't happen very often. And I think, like, as a kid, like, your kids are going to respect you so much more for sharing the struggle. That's such a connection point between you two as well in your relationship, that not only are you teaching them about money and showing them the struggle, but you're showing them how you're overcoming the struggle as well. And that's such a relationship builder. And that's such a I think your kids will respect you more for it. And
with that said, these struggles that you would share, we also have to, have some discernment on age appropriateness of, you're not going to share your struggle with your 5-year-old, because they don't get it. They're not going to understand that. But I do believe that there's things that we can start to do and start to teach our kids about money, even at a young age. And so I know one of the things that I talked about even at a young age with the kids. One of the things that and this is a topic that there's in a lot of families. And again, this isn't right or wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying this is my view and this is my opinion when it comes to the topic of allowances in a family. I get it that you want to reward your kids for doing things, but man, this is a group effort. And we didn't do allowances. So when it comes to chores and things around the house, I'm not going to pay them. Nobody paid me to do dishes. So we had to do dishes. So if it comes to the point where they can share in the responsibility of the home, I believed in sharing responsibility, not paying them for chores. Like they're going to have this idea that things that they don't want to do, that they're just going to get paid for all the time. And that's just not the case. They need to, in my opinion, they needed to understand that this house is, we all need to pitch in and help make this house work. And I didn't get paid to mow the grass. I didn't get paid to, as in my own, when I had a home, nobody paid me to mow the grass. Nobody paid me to do laundry. Nobody paid me to do the dishes. Nobody paid me to vacuum the floors. So when my kids are at the age where they can start helping out with these day-to-day tasks and relieve us from, my wife and I, from having to shoulder the responsibility of cooking and cleaning and doing all this stuff, last thing I'm going to do is pay them for this. So if they want to get paid to do something, they're going to do extra work. That's why I teach them to go help out, go mow the neighbor's yard. They'll pay you to mow the neighbor's yard. I'm not going to pay you to mow my yard. And
which for our story, it was we had a vending machine business, and then you also paid us for some grades on our report card a couple times, which we'll get into. But maybe let's talk about the business first.
Yeah, so it was an interesting thing. I always wanted to try to figure out how to teach them about having a business, and specifically, and I'm going to use this term again, which we're not going to get into in this episode, but we'll get into this in another episode, this passive income business. And so I saw on Craigslist or somewhere that someone was selling their vending machine business. I think it was about 12 to 14 vending machines. And they're already in locations. And so do
you remember how old we were for context?
I think you were about 7, 8 years old, 9 years old.
Yeah. Somewhere
around there. Maybe 10.
I don't think I was 10 yet,
yeah,
but
so 9 years old, which Riley would have been a couple years younger. 7. And so it was once a month, wasn't it, or once a week?
I think it was once a month.
Yeah, I think once a month I would take them around. So we paid for the vending. I paid for the vending machines, and we chalked it up as a loan. And they didn't really understand all of this, but I just wanted to start talking terminology with them and see this stuff. And so we would go buy product, and we'd get the coins, and we'd go and collect the money, this is where, for me, having this experience helped teach Madison and Riley how to communicate with adults.
Yeah.
So they would go in there. I wouldn't do the talking. I would have them go in and introduce themselves to the business owner and say, "Hi, we're here to service the vending machine. Thank you so much for your business." I teach them things to say and most of the people, they appreciated that. They really liked the idea that they were learning about business at a young age, because these are business owners that we were going in and talking to. And so they loved it. Actually, the business owners, they thought it was a great example. And
nobody was mean to us.
Yeah, no one was mean, and if there was a problem, I would be kind of listening in. I was sitting in the waiting room.
You didn't just send us in.
Yeah, I wasn't sitting out in the car.
No, you were there. You walked us through everything.
Yep. And if there was an issue,
the ones who would go through, like, unlock the thing, collect all the quarters, fill up the candy that was empty. And then after we would go around to all of the locations, we'd come back and we'd count all the quarters.
Well, and you clean the machines off. We made sure it was clean. And when we left, you had a little gift, some extra candies that you would go set on the desk for the business owner and tell them,
I do remember that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for your business and letting us have this machine here. And so there's a lot of just PR things that we taught. So it wasn't just learning about money. It was learning about people. It was learning about how to talk to adults, which is another big thing in my life that I wanted to make sure my kids learned at an early age. So it wasn't just about money, but it was learning, how to talk to adults. And so, yeah, that was the thing then they'd go home and, like I said, would count the quarters. And then what'd you do? We set up a bank account.
Yeah.
And so then they would take the money to the bank and they would see the whole process of.
We would see them like put all the quarters in the machine and it like add them all up and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then we'd use some of that money I can't remember exactly what happened with all the money part of it. I just remember the process more so.
Yep.
But like, yeah, like I don't remember if we were paid from it or if we used it all to like get candy again and stuff like that. But
yeah, there's money that you would get paid for, and then that was your spending money. So you'd go out and that was money that you got to go out and spend. I mean, it's not like hundreds of dollars. Yeah. But I don't know, that lasted, I think, maybe a couple years, maybe. I don't know. I think, and then we sold it off. The kids, it just wasn't, there wasn't the interest.
Yeah. And stuff.
Activities at school kind of took a little bit more of a priority. And so we sold it off to another family who did the same thing with their kids. So it's kind of neat to be able to pass that on. But I just wanted to teach at a young age my kids to have some financial responsibility and just start learning about money and just at least engaging in that concept. And I wasn't just going to hand it to them and give them an allowance for things that they should be doing anyway. When they get going in life and get off on their own, nobody's going to pay them to wash their dishes, to wash their clothes, and to do chores around the house. So, but if it was extracurricular things, I would so here's one thing that we would do. So for those that don't know, I have three kids, 3 children. Madison here is my oldest, and then Michael is 2 years younger than Madison, and then Riley's 3 years younger than Madison. So as of right now, 20, 21, and 23. What?
Yeah.
So, okay. So Michael, my middle child, has special needs. Okay. And so one of the things that I did not do is took advantage of Madison as an in-house babysitter. And so one of the extracurricular things when she was of age and old enough to be responsible. So Jody and I, if we went out on a date night or something, and I would ask Madison, can I pay you to watch Michael? Instead of me hiring a babysitter to come and watch them, I would now pay Madison for that responsibility. So now it's a position of responsibility that she would agree or disagree, and she had the right to say no. She, if she didn't want to do that or had something else going on, we would then go and find another babysitter. And so that would be one example of an extracurricular thing that she would do. She would watch Michael. We would come home and we would pay her for that task. I didn't want to take advantage and just think, hey, this is your brother, you need to watch him so we can go out. That just wasn't my thing. Again, this isn't right or wrong. This is just what we did. And so that gave her an opportunity to make some money. And then one of the other things, like Madison said, there were certain things that we would reward them for good grades. And so
especially at the beginning, like elementary school ages, I would say.
Yeah.
Like upper elementary school, middle school times.
And the reason why we chose to reward them for good grades is that put an idea and an importance on studying and getting good grades. And I also talk to them and explain to them that if you spend your time studying and you spend your time working on grades, I'm not going to require you to go out and get a job. I will help with some things so that you don't have to. If you show me that you're getting good grades, we're going to help pay for other things in your life. I don't want you to feel like you have to go get a job and now you're managing grades and job, because that was their job, in my opinion, to study and to get good grades. Why? Because of the scholarships. If they would study and they would get good grades, that would equate to scholarships. I did not want to get them in a position where if they went to college, that they would have to create mounds of debt that they would end up having to pay off over years and years of their life. I wanted to help them avoid that first major pitfall of debt in the name of student loans. So I wanted to make sure that I helped them understand that this was work. Studying and getting good grades was a priority. It was important. You could get scholarships, and there's other things that we could do so that you will not have to take out student loans and get into debt right off the bat before you ever get out on your own. And so they may not have understood that at the time, but I saw that as a big problem in marriages when they first get started off. There's this mountain of student loan debt that is just crazy in my opinion. So the first thing that I wanted to do is make sure they didn't get that. And so they both got really good grades. I don't know what
and then the opportunities to have AP classes and advanced college classes while still in high school.
Right.
As well.
Yep. So I mean, both you and Riley, you both had over a year's worth of college already done through high school. Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah, just about a year, a little bit more than a year of college through going through the AP courses. So they didn't have to pay the higher price in the college credits. And so we paid for that along the way. So they already had a whole year worth of college paid for before they ever went to college. And so.
Well, I did not go to college.
Right.
For context, I just went straight into working and saving and doing that. So yeah, Riley is in college though.
Riley's in college, and wow, I guess on that topic, I didn't want to force the kids to go to college. I went to 2 years of college, and I chose not to pursue college myself. I went into business and started doing my own business thing. And so I'm not saying college is not good. I'm not saying it's not important. What I am saying is that if you're going to go to college, make sure you know why you're going to college and what you're going to college for.
That was the biggest thing for me, why I didn't want to go, because I was like, I don't know exactly what I want to do yet.
So why would you go rack up college debt and you not know what you want to go to college for? If you want to go to college because you're going to be an accountant, for example, there's a pathway that you already are going to college and it's set, and you can go to college for that. Or if you want to go to be some people, if they want to be an electrician, they'll go to that trade school. They may go to the union course on and be an electrician. I'm just not a big advocate of going to college and wasting 2 years when you don't even know what you're doing. So Riley, actually, she chose to go to college because he knows what he wanted to study. He's studying music composition theory, but he's also in the military. He chose to go into the Navy Reserves because I talked to him about the importance of having a sound job or trade that you're being into. So his military training will be in IT, and his college training will be in music composition theory. So between the two, I feel that he's off to a good start, and he'd be ready to have that, just to go to college for that. And for the record, I think he already had almost a year of college paid for before he went to college, the AP courses. And then I think his first year of college, he ended up paying $200 or
somewhere between $200 and $500.
Somewhere between $200 and $500 he paid for himself. Crazy. Yep, because of the scholarships and everything. It cost him $200 to $500 for his first year of college. And so he gets the same scholarships this year, and it's probably going to end up being about the same thing in a second year of college. And so there's value in teaching that responsibility and helping them understand, even though they don't understand what that debt is going to mean to them down the road. We helped identify that for them and kind of set them on that path. So
yeah, I think to the value, like another thing to talk about, especially while your kids are like younger, I feel like you guys did with us, is in a way kind of taught us about the keeping up with the Joneses type of thing, because you wouldn't get us everything that we wanted, and would have that conversation around why. Like, I'm like what is the real reason you want this though, and can we get something similar that's not the brand name type of thing. Like there was, I don't know, if you're my age, you might know what Miss Me jeans are, and they're like $200 pair of jeans and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, well, can we get you jeans and bedazzle them, or do we need the $200 brand jeans? And so it was a lot of, I feel like you guys brought up that conversation too, and kind of taught us that it's okay, you don't need the brand name things. And the way, like through our phones as well, like we don't have iPhones and we were told all the time how terrible we are for it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, the iPhone users out there, you know who you are. But it in a way, we had those phones because you were also teaching us about keeping up with the Joneses and how it's not important. So to start that conversation too, I think is incredible going into my 20s. I'm like, I don't need all the brand name things. I don't need all of the things that everybody else has. Because now I have money where I could get those things and stuff like that, but I don't need that. And so with our cars, with our phones, I think you guys did a good job at doing that. Do you have any thoughts on that part of?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just I was never moved by what everybody else had and brand names. And I don't know how long it took for them to get phones, but to me, I did not see the point of having my 7th or 8th grader at school with the latest iPhone. Like, I don't know why they need a $2,000 plus phone. They need it for an emergency. So they got the flip phone. It was a very cheap phone, cheapest phone.
Which mine broke in like a week, thank goodness. I was happy about the flip phone part of things.
Yeah. So, but we let them know that, you know, this phone is to call me in case of emergency. This phone isn't for you to play video games on. This phone isn't for you to browse the internet. You have no need to do that. It's for you in case you have an emergency or you need to get a hold of me. That's why we have a phone. Period. That's it. And I didn't care what everybody else was doing. And they needed to know that they needed to go through that same emotion. Like Madison said,
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I don't have to keep up with the Joneses and be like everybody else. We have to be responsible in our money. And I think society and marketing plays on that emotion. Like you're this fear of missing out emotion. Like, oh, you don't have that. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to go in debt to make, to keep up with you because you went into debt to keep up with the Joneses. That doesn't mean I have to. And so, and I'm sure every family is different and they're unique in what they want to do, but I just didn't see the benefit of providing my kids everything they wanted. I didn't. They needed to learn the word no, and they didn't need to learn that they didn't need to get everything that they wanted whenever they wanted. I didn't want to raise spoiled brat kids. That was just me. And so life doesn't give me everything that I didn't get everything I wanted in life. Even today, I don't get whatever I want. I have to work for it. There's hard work, and there's something to be said about the value of going out and working for it and earning it versus having it handed to you. That's why I didn't like allowances. You want something, go work for it. I wanted a work ethic. I wanted to raise responsible kids, not spoiled kids that felt entitled. And so
it was more about the principle of the thing than the actual thing.
Right.
Because if you had just given us it, like that would have never been taught to us then. And as you get older, the keeping up with the Joneses only becomes more expensive, and it only becomes more, it could become harmful to you if you go into that much debt. And so I thought that was good. Looking back, maybe not in the moment. Maybe in the moment I was pretty mad that I had to have the crappy phone or the Miss Me, or couldn't have the Miss Me jeans or whatnot. But when I look back on it, I'm like, all those clothes, all those things, you get rid of them, your style changes. Like it's not really not that important in hindsight.
And
the principle is what stuck ultimately.
Right. And the principle, I mean, and you keep talking about the principle, which is absolutely 100% true. And in this topic that we have today, and teach our kids about money, it is also a principle of money. You don't need to spend it if you don't need to spend it. So I don't want to create a habit where my kids think, oh, just because everybody else has it, I'm going to spend my money on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to create that habit of them oh, let's just spend it to spend it. No, if you don't need, I mean, why?
We had a lot more conversations around topic of saving. I remember, like, because here I am, you're entrusting me with babysitting Michael. I'm getting money for it. we have the quarter like business, we're getting money for it. I remember, I feel like the babysitting point was where I started asking more questions about it, but I'm like, now what do I do with this money? And you're like, well, if you save it up, then there's bigger things that you can get with that, and there's more things you can do with it when you have more money saved. And so I just remember more conversations around saving at that point in time.
Right.
Like, still go out and have a good time with your friends and stuff like that and do things, but try to save more than you spend.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go out and put the new phone and Miss Me jeans on a credit card and pay ungodly amounts of interest on a credit card to make my kid like me. Not going to do it. So that, I mean, I'm sure there in different points of time, I know I could have afforded the jeans or I could have afforded the phone, but I'm not going to teach them to put things on credit and put it on debt and pay for them if we don't need them. Why do we need those? Now, if you worked hard for it and you saved your money and that's the reward that you want to have for it, by all means. But me as the parent, I'm not just because they want the thing, I'm not moved by that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's good. And I think going into that, it does talk about who the parent is. And you have a quote that you say that undisciplined parents raise undisciplined kids, which kind of works in the same way with if you're not disciplined with your money, you don't teach your kids necessarily to be that. What are your thoughts or comments on that?
I mean, I think you nailed it right out of that.
Your words coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're exactly right. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about right here is, if parents need to be disciplined. And, you don't have to be moved by your kids' wants and wishes to put you in a tougher financial situation. You're already you're doing so much for them, taking them all over the place, driving them everywhere, putting food on the table, working your butt off. Why do you want to keep going and keep just kicking money out there? It doesn't teach them how to value money. It doesn't teach them how to put
or value you as a person.
Yeah, that too. And respect, just respect effort, respect the work that you're doing. I mean, they need to be in a position to experience that. And sometimes that means no. You tell them no. Oh, come on. No. So.
Well, and a lot of times too, we have it as like a point to talk about, but just if the parents don't know about money, then you can't really teach your kids necessarily about money. And so I think because you studied, because you took the time to really go to these conferences, to read the books, to explore and to try things and have experience, you were able to kind of build that foundation to actually know what you wanted to teach us and how you wanted to teach it. Is that right? Is that like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely right. Again, my drive has always been to put you guys and, your future children in a better position. And it starts with information. It starts with education. But if all we get is information and education, that knowledge is not power. It's the applied information of that education is power. So if you don't apply what you just learned, there's no power in that. You just have knowledge. And so I wanted to make sure that I gave them the information and help them to apply it in their own life so they could experience it. And that's like even now. So we talk about age appropriate lessons, so we do age appropriate lessons and things when they're growing up. But then when they start getting into high school, and now even at Madison's age now, I mean, they're young adults. They're adults. I mean, they're getting ready to get out on their own, start their own lives. And so I'm like, all right, guys, now it's starting the time. That's where she talked about earlier. We opened up our finances. We said, here's where we're at. Here's what our finances look like. Here's our income that's coming in. Here's our investments that we have. Here's our trust that we established. All of these things that we have done, we are now helping them to understand this is where we're at. This is what we're building. And you need to know and understand that. And just so you know, we're still trying to learn things. So, now we just recently went through the Dave Ramsey course. I mean, I highly recommend Dave as a family. So the whole family went through the Dave Ramsey course. The whole family, we're almost done. We got a little sidetracked, but we started reading the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Talks about money.
We went through the Money Masters course.
You're going to hear from the authors of the Money Masters course in this series. They're going to come on and they're going to talk about it. So we went through that course. So we're still learning and growing, and they're participating in it as well. And so they're learning stuff. And so now, as I continue to learn, I mean, for me, I have financial mentors. I have people who are helping me with investments, helping me manage that. I remember
you guys have allowed us to be a part of your financial plan.
They come in and sit in on our financial planning meetings, so they get to be in that environment, in that atmosphere. And so I wanted them to learn that, to learn about insurances, to learn about investments. Now, Madison said I talked to her about savings, and there's a power in savings. So then when you get to the point where you have enough money that you can start investing and doing things, I mean, Madison's invested her money. There's been times where she's been able to participate in some of my real estate deals and invest her money and make some money on it. And so we're just still working through all of that. So now she's able to participate in things and do things. And we're going again. I don't stop learning. I mean, there's different educations and there's different things that apply when we're in different areas of our life. And so now, where I'm at in investing in real estate and just money flowing, I need other people to advise me. And so now I have financial planners, I have other wealth managers that help guide me and strategize, where before I didn't need that. Now I need it. And so,
well, and one thing I want to say too is because you guys can provide all the opportunities, you can provide all of the conversations, answer all the questions, but if I don't apply it, then that's on me. You guys tried. You had all the opportunities to open up these things, give me opportunity for this, helps guide me in steps to save and things like that. And so if I don't apply the lessons, which I do and I have, and if I don't choose to personally create my own budget and figure out where my money is going and learn about investing and learn on my own too, then that's completely on me, and I'm never going to grow past the point that they're at too. And so if you're a kid and you want to grow more, then you've got to learn more. You've got to bring more to the table and talk about more, ask more questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid. I think I'm pretty good at not being afraid to look stupid and ask the stupid question. And that's okay. And it's honestly powerful to do that. And so but just wanted to point on that side of things. Parents provide the opportunity, but also parents don't take in the shame if your kid doesn't decide to apply the things that you've taught them. That responsibility, if they don't choose that, then that responsibility is not solely on your shoulders.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I tell people all the time when they ask me, then they're like, man, hey, you did a great job raising your kids. And I said, I did my part, but my kids did a great job in responding. There's a responsibility on them to respond to what I'm teaching them. And if they don't respond, there's not a whole lot I can do. I can't make them respond. So they're responding to that is more of the testimony to them, not necessarily to me as the parent. I mean, I think, we definitely provided lots of great opportunities, but they also responded. Like she said, it's up to them to respond. And it's encouraging because, Madison is so much farther along at her age than I was at 23. And so I did not have nearly what she has going for her right now. Her own business, she's incorporated, she has an LLC. I'm just business minded, starting, tearing things up and just a lot farther along than where I was. And but I feel if I didn't,
but that was the goal too.
I know
the training purposes so that I could be farther along, and that was the point of all of the teaching and all the lessons. And so
exactly,
how cool is it that you get to sit back and actually see that?
So when you actually teach your kids about money, like we're talking about in this episode, and your kids actually apply it and they start doing the right things with money, it works. I'm just telling you, I'm not talking theory. So, I mean, she's testifying right now that what we're talking about, they learned. And you'll actually get a chance to hear from Riley, my youngest son, and my nephew Reese. We're going to have them on, and it's going to be a great episode. And it's the same thing. I mean, I'm intentionally pouring into their lives so they can be better off. And you'll hear firsthand from them the power and the value of just talking about money. So,
and I want to go back to the classes and like talking about that, because for parents who maybe don't like know about money, like there's like to put on a class or to go through a class as a family, that is the perfect opportunity to bring up money, because the conversation of money is hard. It's not something that like anybody really wants to talk about on either end necessarily, but it's necessary. And so to like go through a class as a family, it allows a space for them to ask questions and for you to bring up things. And I think that's why it's important to also seek out classes and learning together as a family.
Yeah, and you don't have to know it all, and you don't have to pretend to know it all, because at a certain age, the kids start to see through.
And it's probably younger than you think.
Right. Yeah. They see through it. They know what's really going on, and so it's just better to be honest about it and just be like, look, I know I don't have my act together. I know I'm still trying to learn. I've been, it's been a struggle just to provide, and that's just where I'm at, and just to be honest with it. That's not where I want to stay. Let's take this class so we can both learn together. If I can, just get you to see earlier what I'm not seeing, that's going to be super powerful. Just to go through that and let the class be the teacher. You don't have to be the teacher.
One thing I know I really respect about you, Dad, is like if you don't have the answer to a question, you don't try to answer it. Like you'll be like, okay, well, let's find the answer somewhere else. Somebody else might have more experience, but you don't necessarily try to give us the answer and work your way through that. Like, and I really respect that as just your kid. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's, that's one thing that, again, you talk about, respect. I think that's just one thing that I learned, that I need to not pretend I know it all. And so I never liked that when other people did it to me. And so I just need to make sure that I didn't do that as well. So I'm glad that other lesson is working too.
Well, so many things.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so last thing I think we should bring up is the fact that you may think your kids are getting some information and knowledge from things like school and stuff like that, but they're really not. Like schools really aren't teaching you like anything about money, or like barely a budget, like barely anything. And so like basically maybe how to write a check. I don't know if they still do that, but it's not a lot. And so don't falsely assume that schools are teaching your kids about it so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's huge point, because again, I'm not anti-school. We all need to go, and we need to learn the right things, like how to read, how to add, subtract, multiply, divide.
All the things.
Well, I wouldn't say all the things, because they throw in goofy things that are not necessary and should not be taught in school. And the one thing that the assumption is that they're teaching you, like, for example, if you go to business school, you actually think that they're teaching you how to own your own business, and they're not. They're teaching you how to work for somebody who owns a business. And business management isn't for you to go out and manage your own business. It's for you to go manage somebody else's business. Money management isn't teaching you how to manage your money and invest and create wealth. It's for you to go out and manage somebody else's money. And so the school systems are not teaching about money and how to have sound financial principles. And so we have to go to outside sources, books, other seminars and things, classes, to where they're going to teach you about the realities of money. The high schools endorsing student loan debt. What in the world? Like, why would we want to encourage them, our juniors and seniors, to go and apply for huge amounts of college debt? Why? I mean, the schools are setting them up for debt, not setting them up for their financial well-being. So that's why I'm not a big fan of the college and school system, because it's just not teaching life. It's teaching different things. I'm not going to get into all of that.
Well, and if you never provide a different perspective, or if you never show them a different class or introduce them to anybody else's voice, then that is the only voice that they have for their finances. And so that's the main thing. Like, let the schools teach what they're going to teach, but don't let that be the only voice that they're hearing from along the lines of finances.
Well, and case in point, maybe we'll wrap it up on this. So case in point, I've already expressed one of my favorite books is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad for two reasons, because it's a story about Robert Kiyosaki learning the principles of money from two different dads, from learning from his dad and learning from his best friend's dad. Unfortunately, learning from his dad, he refers to his dad as Poor Dad. But Poor Dad wasn't poor. Poor Dad made six figures a year as a principal at school, and he was living paycheck to paycheck, could barely make it. This was Poor Dad, but he learned lessons from his best friend's dad, who he called Rich Dad. And the school, even in the school system, his own dad did not learn the concepts of money, let alone to teach his son about money. He had to learn the principles of money from his best friend's dad. And so we have to put our kids in the environment to learn more than what we don't know. And what like Madison said, what we think the schools may be teaching them. But what did the schools teach you? Did they teach you about money? So if they didn't teach you about money, how do we expect them to be teaching our kids about money? And if we don't teach our kids about money, who's going to? The world? Every voice out there?
Just gonna have to figure it out. And that's an overwhelming world.
It is. And they're gonna have to try to figure it out. And every voice out there is trying to get their money, right, not trying to help them make money. And so we got to help them rein it in, start learning from people who can help create wealth, so that we're not living paycheck to paycheck, being strapped and being in debt all the time, so that we can at least help build wealth and build financial sound principles, which in turn builds discipline, builds character, helps them be responsible. And, those are the byproducts that money can help teach and build in our kids. So
it's important.
It's important that we take time to teach our kids about money, even if we don't know about it totally. Yeah. We can start learning, and we can help put them in an environment to learn. Send them to this podcast series. That would be a great help.
So next episode, we'll continue talking about this, and we'll have more points that are going to be made. So join us for more. If you really liked this topic, share it with your friends, and join us for the next episode, because we're going to have some more good stuff.
Thank you so much for tuning in and continuing with us on this journey in our financial series. And tune in next time. We'll have some more good stuff for you.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Legacy Builders podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on any of our social media, or you can email those questions to legacybuilderspodcast@gmail.com.